morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay? Yes, okay. And on Zoom, we're okay? Well, I'm Reverend Diane. I wanted to thank everybody for being here. It's a joy to see newcomers, and I think it warms everybody's heart to see little kids this morning as well joining us for our service. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Mike. I see the hole in your ear. I should speak louder? Okay. All right. This is close enough. So this morning I did want to talk about living the questions, starting with us Unitarian Universalists, and maybe some of the jokes that we've heard throughout the years, funny or not funny. Some of them might have a grain of truth in them. There's that bumper sticker, the answer is to question. And if you take 3 Unitarians, you'll get 5 opinions, which is true. How many Unitarians does it take to change a light bulb? And then we might say, we can't really tell you if we agree that you would need a light bulb, or we disagree that you need a light bulb, but however, if you do find that a light bulb works for you, that is wonderful, and you are invited to even write a poem, or maybe even a dance, and talk about your relationship and how this light bulb has changed your life. And then you're welcome to talk to Rose about it and present it at our Sunday morning service and call it luminescence and talk about 3-way lights, long life, and fluorescence and tinted. Anyway, you get the gist. But we're proud, I think, to be a little bit fuzzy. I mean by that kind of being hard to pin down. And I must say, the whole subject of being a Unitarian Universalist is a little bit fuzzy. And when I say this, I've long felt this a long time, that the fuzziness of belief is a strength and really not a weakness. And when you look at an honest assessment of all our human experience, you kind of have to acknowledge that it is ambiguous in nature, and there is some beauty in ambiguity. So if you will, I'm going to answer a few questions that I've gotten over the years when I've told people that I'm a Unitarian Universalist. And these questions came at parties, and they came from coworkers, and they even come today as I stand here. First of all, I've been asked, is Unitarian Universalism really a religion? Well, in dealing with beliefs and theology, it's important to note that Unitarian Universalism is a way of being religious rather than being a religious doctrine. And for us, religion is an ongoing search for meaning, for purpose, for value, and spiritual depth in one's life. We believe that individuals are entitled to make their own search, and that not all persons, not even all views, are going to share the same beliefs. So ours is a non-creedal, non-doctrinal religion which affirms the individual's freedom of belief. And for that reason, it's not really easy to give a blanket answer to whether we believe in God, whether we believe in Jesus, the Bible, or life after death. Although we do not all believe the same thing about these things and other matters, we do believe that each person has the integrity and the ability to come to terms with their religious beliefs in a way that is right for that person. So somebody might say, okay, well, can Can you believe in anything? Well, intellectually, yes, but I've never really known anyone who is asked to resign their membership because of their ideas. I can tell you for darn sure that anybody who does try to tell others what to believe is going to have a pretty hard time being with us. And I have seen that throughout the years. Then what holds us together? Our values, beliefs. As I see it, we have four core values. Universalism does affirm religious freedom, a caring community, and social justice. By freedom, as in each person is responsible for his or her own beliefs, and community to us means that it's the job of our local congregation to support each person as he or she tests and lives those beliefs, and provide support wherever we can, spiritual, emotional, and occasionally financial if the need arises. And when we talk about justice, we mean pulling our knowledge, our contacts, our resources all together to make for a better world. For example, right now the board and I think and Nancy Sears are behind the asylum seekers, working in Newburgh, bringing food and clothes over to the men that are living there. Do we believe in God? This one takes us into really deeper waters. Some Unitarian Universalists believe in something or someone that guides our lives and our world, and many do not. But it's safe to say that all of us believe that we are on the look for our own spiritual views and growth. And as to the word God, some find it helpful to talk about mystery of life or love. Some pray in more personal terms to a more personal God. And many find God in nature, mystical experiences. And some look at it as a hijacked concept, kind of in need of freeing, or just not very meaningful to them at this point in their lives. So then I've been asked, what do you teach your children? We have wonderful teachers here. We have Bernadette, we have Keith, and Reverend Linda, who organized our whole program, and thanks to Jim Tarvin, who also put together a wonderful picnic for bringing children together. We teach the children that they are good, that they are part of a long and proud liberal religious tradition. And when we get it right, we teach them to honor their bodies, engage their brains, nourish their spirits, change their world. We teach them about personal spirituality, world religions, service, and being a Unitarian, and of course, love. And I've always been asked, are you really a church or are you a cult? No. Cults have three hallmarks. They're relatively new. They have a single charismatic leader, and they always share a single mindset. We've been around for about 200 years. President John Adams and his son, President John Quincy Adams, were Unitarians. And our leader, the president of the UUA, changes every 10 years. And sometimes we elect a person with charisma, and sometimes we don't. As our mindset, some of us believe in God, and some of us don't. We have other differences. We're not a mainline Protestant denomination, but we are far from being a cult. And people say, how come I've never even heard of your religion? Well, two main reasons. First, even though we go back to the 1700s in this country, we were never as big as for example, the Episcopal or the Methodist churches. We have a great story. We don't always know how to tell it, and we definitely don't know how to sell it or promote it. Where can one find congregations now? There's more than 1,000 congregations in the United States and Canada, and they belong to the UUA, and their headquarters are in Boston, Massachusetts. The oldest Unitarian congregations are in Romania, and there are large Unitarian congregations in the Khasi Hills of India, and many more are found in Hungary, the Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, France, Great Britain, Australia, Nigeria, South Africa, and the Philippines and Japan. And some of these are Unitarians, and some of them are Universalists. Then we also belong to the International Association for Religious Freedom, and that was organized in 1900, and that includes many other liberal Christian groups, as well as humanist and Hindu Reform and Shinto, and many, many Buddhist groups. I've also been asked, do you understand salvation? Well, the English word salvation derives from the Latin salus, meaning health. Unitarian Universalists are as concerned with salvation in the sense of spiritual health or wholeness as any other religious people. However, in many Western churches, salvation has come to be associated with a specific set of beliefs of a spiritual transformation of a very limited type. But among Unitarian Universalists, instead of salvation, you will hear of our yearning for and our experience of personal growth, increased wisdom, strength of character, gifts of insight and understanding, inner and outer peace, and courage and patience and compassion. The ways in which these things come to change and heal us are many indeed, and we seek and we celebrate them in our worship on Sundays. How can an agnostic go to church? They can go by a car, they can go on a bike, they can walk here. Seriously, this is one thing that puzzles many people. Why would an agnostic or an atheist or even a humanist go to a church? But we give people a place to explore and grow spiritually, even if they grow in different directions. And we provide religious education for children so that they can make their own informed choice when it comes time for them to choose a religion if they do so decide to. And finally, there's a social aspect of church. Even agnostics like our potlucks. So what's the symbolism of the flaming chalice? Our flaming chalice means different things to different people. It was purposely designed with that lack of clarity and intentionally left open to interpretation. At the most literal meaning, the flaming chalice signals our identity. But it also has other registers of meaning as well. It suggests that transformations that take place when we are held within a religious community. When we light the chalice in the worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. That flame is what one of our beloved congregational hymns calls the fire of commitment. I enjoy the chalice's lack of predetermined meaning. One way to understand Yu's distinctive character is to see it as an orthopraxy. Orthopraxy stresses that most important religious bonds are formed out of justice, actions, and loving practice. That contrasts with orthodoxy, most common in other faiths, traditions, some Christian traditions, Orthodox Judaism, for example, and they stress correct and often homogeneous beliefs as the most important aspect of religion. There was an author, Theodore Sturgeon, who was one of the great science fiction writers of the Golden Age. He wrote a book called More Than Human, which won many awards, and he wrote two of my more favorite Star Trek episodes from the original series, Among Time and Shore Leave. He always signed his book with his name, and then he added a Q with an arrow going through it. And this is what it looked like. So, when they asked him what he meant, he said it means ask the next question. Ask the next question. The one that follows that, and the one that follows that, and never stop asking questions. So there is no such thing as the right answer. When I started looking into this sermon, I found out that there is such a thing as a questionologist. And according to the New York Times, there's actually the Right Question Institute, which is a nonprofit research group, which explains that the act of formulating questions enable us to organize our thinking around what we don't know. And it's a very important tool to have in our toolbox. So how can we live these questions? This is another way of thinking, another way of seeing, and really another way of moving through the world. And this was inspired by the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. And he wrote in Letters to a Young Poet in the early 20th century, be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions. Love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't always search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, maybe someday far in the future, you'll gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer, which for me has been true after being with the UU for maybe 50 years. There's a poem by Linda Hogan. There is nothing more innocent than the still unformed creature I find beneath soil, neither of us knowing what it will become in the abundance of the planet. It seems a living only by remaining still in its niche, but one day it may struggle out of its tender pearl of blind skin with a wing or with a vision, leaving behind the transparent. But I cover it again, keep laboring, my hands in the earth, myself a singular body, watching things grow, wondering now how a cut blade of grass knows how to turn sharp again. At the end, this same growing must be myself, not aware yet of what I will become in my own fullness inside this simple flesh. So the invitation here this morning is to engage the adventure of a new curiosity and a reverence for the questions that are alive in you, the questions alive in the world that you feel drawn to, the questions that we ask as you use. What does the chalice light mean to you? What do the principles teach us about the way we should treat each other? What do they teach us about the way we should treat ourselves? Is there a difference between doubting and questioning? And what does it mean to live into a hard, perhaps an unanswerable question? I leave you out with a few thoughts which are paraphrased from the Reverend Jessica Clay. Tell me, this is what this particular time is all about. Living with this sense of foreboding, catastrophic climate change, the overuse of our natural world, the senseless killing of our own wildness simply for the sake of killing. We must live inside these terrible questions, these questions that make us ache, so we will become larger, more pliable and more open, finding our way into the answers. Perhaps we cannot solve the problems we face with the same sort of thinking that we created them. We cannot be so certain of which path to take. We must all become beginners. We are slowly cracking and breaking the outer shell in order to reveal the truth. We have never been here before. So I stand this morning, shaking in my shoes, at the mere thought of this change, of these paradigm shifts that are unseen in any lifetime before ours. And I keep reminding myself, always a beginner, always realize there is something to learn, always remember that I know far less than I think. Be a novice, be a blank page, be embryonic in your sense of self. You're just learning the steps. We are just starting out. It's okay to be stupid or blind or not have the answers, and it's okay to be wrong or make mistakes or muck it all up. This is all the process of becoming, of enlightenment, of living. So love it all, the confusion, the mess, the raw red rims of your eyes. Love the experience of being born, the experience of watching the old way of life die. Watch everything burn, watch everything grow, but most important, don't be afraid. This is how you find your way. You don't notice the changes as they come. You just wake up one bright morning, sky the color of robin's eggs, and you realize that you are there. You open the door, and you smell the restless air, and you say a prayer of profound thanks. Namaste. May we all live our way into the answers, and may we all welcome adventures and a new curiosity and reverence to the questions that are alive in us, the questions that are alive in the world that we feel drawn to. And now, in a poetic way, I thought we'd end with Blowing in the Wind. Bob Dylan's way of asking some questions. I'm just going to get the guitar. The lyrics are in your program.